proved your point. You have a match at SummerSlam. Wait till then.
You're a WWE superstar.
What's going on, YouTube? It's Sensei, place to be chilling, Mr. A&E. Back to give you guys another Raw review for August 10th, 2020. I do apologize again that you guys only hear me in the audio and do not see me up in the camera. I'm still having a little problem with my camera, unfortunately, and it couldn't come at a worse time, especially when I'm trying to get, I want to do some reactions. I want to do some other things for the channel so you guys can see my face and everything like that, but it just has not been working out that way. So, but I'm pretty sure I can get it back. You know what I'm saying? I'm just having some not too much camera issues, more so the memory card. So, but anyway, neither here nor there. We're here to talk about Raw. So this is the Raw, again, it's the second week of Raw Underground, but we don't even start off with that. We start off at the beginning with a contract signing with Seth Rollins and Dominik Mysterio, with Samoa Joe overseeing it. So I did that. That's all cool right there. And, Seth Rollins says, how many times over and over again do I have to go through this, and do you have to get it to understand that I was trying to help Rey Mysterio and not harm him, but now you asking for this. So you know what? At SummerSlam, you can bring your candlestick, you can bring all that stuff that you need, you can use it, as it's not going to help you that much at all. So it sounds like the match is going to be kind of like how Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre was, with like, it's Extreme Rules but for Dolph Ziggler only. So it may be like it's an Extreme Rules or Dominik cannot get disqualified, but but that only applies for Dominik. So we gotta see how it goes out. I'm curious to see how this match is going to go, but I've always been on record saying that when it comes, there's a certain amount of people, there's a certain number of guys that you can actually count on one hand who can have a match with a broomstick and have an almost 5-star match with it, to the point where they can have a great match with anybody. And the top 3 people I said were AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and Kenny Omega. Those were the in my personal opinion. I mean, there's more obviously I can count, but in my personal opinion, especially today, the 3 men that can have a match that don't need a good dance partner or anything like that, we could put them in the ring and they can have a good match with damn near virtually anybody. AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and Kenny Omega. Those are my 3. So I have all the faith in the world that Seth Rollins is going to lead Dominik to a good match, especially on the biggest thing at the summer. But it doesn't mean we don't get our first match with Humberto Carrillo taking on Seth Rollins. Humberto Carrillo has turned out to be a complete joke. He really has. And I mean, to the point that I don't remember the last time Humberto Carrillo won a match. I think I picked him once back last year during the fantasy when he first came in. He won like 2 matches, but other than that, Humberto Carrillo is just there to be the Mexican holdover to represent for like the Dominik and the Mysterio stuff like that. Especially since Aleister Black has been written off for a little bit, and so I'm like, okay, so what happened? So I mean, he puts on a good match as always, but Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp, and the match is over. But Dominik comes and hits Murphy with a kendo stick, and then he tries to go start hitting Seth Rollins with a kendo stick, but Seth Rollins and Murphy jump Dominik, and now it's not looking good for Dominik as Seth Rollins has a kendo stick and hits Dominik with the kendo stick, and then he hits him in the back, and then he hits him in the front again. But then it gets brutal because now Dominik is down and he's about to go, and Seth Rollins goes underneath the rope and gets another couple more kendo sticks, and he gives one to Murphy, and he says, no, we going open season on this guy. And they have Dominik tied up in the ropes. So Seth Rollins has already been wailing on him while he's in the ropes, but now Murphy's going to hit the back, and then Seth Rollins will hit the front, and they go back and forth, back and forth. The whelps on Dominik's body are just painful to look at, because you just see, you actually almost see the bruises growing as the camera is on them. And you know what? That's Dominik's welcome to the business, because even Murphy said, welcome to the business. And he has got whelps on him, and you already know new guys that come to the business, they always get that, ignition day, or whatever the case may be. Something like a wake-up call. I remember when they was talking about it on the Dudley Boys documentary, and when they got their ass beat by the APA and took that shit, I'm like, yeah, welcome to the business. So Dominik definitely got that great segment, and he beat the shit out of him. And then Seth Rollins looks at the screen, talks to him, hey Ray, I know you're down on your knees. I want you to beg. I want you to beg me to stop it. He keeps going. He says it's not going to work. It's too late. And he just yelling at the camera, knowing that Rey Mysterio is watching. So we're most likely gonna get that Rey Mysterio come back to have a tag match with Dominik, Seth Rollins, and Buddy Murphy like that. Or Mysterio's gonna get his matchup again with Rollins maybe at WrestleMania. But I don't know. Rollins got a baby coming up, so we don't know how this whole thing is going to play out. But as of right now, when it comes to going by the segment wise, it was a really, really well done, really good put together segment, I had to say the least. So going up next, as we predicted, Selena Vega is going to go one-on-one with Bianca Bel-Air. Now, if you guys have watched Twitch, that Bianca Belair, it was news that attacked Selena Vega on her Twitch stream. It was a cool thing to do, something different to keep the rivalry going outside of WWE. Like I said, I talked about it on the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling Podcast, episode 152. Make sure you guys check that out as well on all your podcast needs. But I was sitting there thinking, like, when you think about it, there were certain things that could have been done better in that segment on Twitch. But we're here now with the matchup. So before the matchup gets started, we have Andrade going to take on Angelo Dawkins. So this is the first time we've seen Angelo Dawkins in singles action since his beginning run of NXT, when he didn't know if he wanted to be James Harden or LeBron James. Well, now this is the one of the times I rarely get to see Angelo Dawkins, have a singles match. So it was a decent singles match against Andrade. I think Montez does better against Andrade, and Andrade hits the double knees to Angelo Dawkins in the corner, but Angelo Dawkins hits like a spine buster, and it wasn't the prettiest spine buster, and pins Andrade, and I'm sitting there like, I didn't think that was the one that's going to make it over. And then Bianca Belair starts to take Selena Vega, toss her right in the ring so we can get ready for her matchup. So her and Selena Vega had a quick matchup, but it was just a pretty quick matchup, but Selena Vega got to show off a little bit. Bianca Belair showed off her strength, gave her a gorilla press slam, and she splattered her face first, and then just tosses Selena Vega around, gives her the KOD, and then she beats Selena Vega. So that's basically give praise to Montez. Montez was not there tonight because I guess he's still probably feeling the effects from being poisoned. So now we got the MVP lounge with the Hurt Business. And her business is obviously they're not in a good mood. MVP talks about, I hate to be the one that told you so, but I told you so. There's a conspiracy going on around here, and he had the lights flickering, he had people blowing up generators, the microphones is cutting off and everything like that, and it was during my match. So Apollo didn't beat me, the lights beat me. So Apollo Crews comes out and says, you know what, MVP over there making excuses, talking about something. You didn't beat me, the lights beat you. I got your championship on my shoulder, and you're gonna make excuses for that. And then he said, well, you know what, P? It's cool, because you already said that you don't like me, you don't like my family or my kids. Well, guess what? I don't like Shelton Benjamin. I don't care about Shelton. He said, you don't care. You don't care about my family or my kids with that. But you know what? I don't care about Shelton Benjamin. I don't care about Bobby Lashley. But I do care about you. And the only thing that's going to be flickering and lights going out at SummerSlam is yours. Good pro by Parker. He's getting a little bit better and polishing up on the mic. And then he goes into MVP looks at Lashley and tells him, like, yo, get this clown. He goes out, but he slides in, hits MVP, and then picks up one to catch from the MVP lounge and tosses it out to the floor. And a very impressive strength from Apollo Crews, which gives us our match with Apollo Crews versus Shelton Benjamin. Both guys do all right. It's not like a really powerful matchup. Apollo hits the Stinger Splash over in the corner, and then he goes to bounce off the rope, so Bobby Lashley trips him up, which distracts him, and he gets a roll up by Shelton Benjamin. Because this is what it needs to happen right here, because the Hurt Business, Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley need to keep the Hurt Business alive by getting wins, especially going down the future. And you got to really put emphasis on the Hurt Business and what they do on Raw, not just give them segments. That's why I thought they was going to be with the Raw Underground stuff, but I'll get to that later. MVP is the only one that should be losing from the Hurt Business because he's there mostly to be the manager role, but MVP is really the older veteran here, which they all older veterans, to be honest with you. They're almost all the same age. But definitely MVP the one should be probably losing, but Bobby Lashley and Bishop should be getting those wins. So no matter how he does it. So Lashley comes in, is about to lock the full Nelson and on Apollo Crews, and then MVP's like, no, chill. I don't need you to lock that on him because I need him healthy. Because remember last time he missed Extreme Rules because of the full Nelson, COVID, and then he needs him healthy. So he said, okay, fine. And then he said, look, I was just trying to look out for you. Apollo gives him the insecurity MVP and runs out with the title. So, I mean, I think Apollo's still going to retain his title at SummerSlam, but it should be a good match. I just want them to put more emphasis and stuff on the Hurt Business. And then now we got a little joke match of Ricochet and Cedric Alexander and the Viking Raiders take on the Akira Tozawa Ninjas. Why? Don't know. But this is all just basically a segment to set up that after the Ninjas lost, which they were going to lose in the first place, Akira Tozawa is walking up, and then one ninja who's not complying with what he's saying rolls him up, and then wins 24/7 championship. And who is it? It's R-Truth. Of course it's R-Truth. You knew it was going to be R-Truth. Peyton Royce is up next, taking on Liv Morgan in one-on-one action because of Liv Morgan came back with Ruby Riott last week. They team up with her and beat her. But then there was a slight distraction on the outside by Billie Kay. Mr. Ruby Riott, they got Liv Morgan distracted. Then she gets the twisting brainbuster by Peyton Royce, which is a better finisher for Peyton Royce to use besides the Fisherman Suplex. Don't get me wrong, the Perfect Plex is made for Mr. Perfect. And Peyton Royce used to do it beautifully, but as a finishing move for her, I think that the twisting brainbuster works out for her really well, because it's almost like the curtain call that Goldust does. So she beats Liv Morgan, then Ruby Riott comes into a kind of apologize, but Liv looks like she wants nothing to do with Ruby Riott's apology or anything of that nature. So I understand. Mickie James is going to return, and Mickie James is confronted backstage. My beautiful Mickie James, by the way, is confronted by Natalya and Lana, both in matching dresses, and it looks like they're becoming an actual tag team, and an annoying one at that. Mickie James lets everybody know that gold is still on her brain, so like she's going to come back to wrestle or put women over. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Mickie James. But this segment was basically just a waste. It really was just a waste. As we're doing the countdown to Raw Underground at 10 p.m., we have Bayley taking on Asuka, and the implication being that if Bayley beats Asuka, then Asuka does not get her rematch against Sasha Banks at SummerSlam. But if Asuka does win, then we know what's going to happen, that Asuka will be Asuka versus Sasha Banks at SummerSlam for her Raw Women's Championship. So putting Bayley and Asuka in a matchup, or Asuka with any one of the four horsewomen, is going to be an excellent matchup. And this one was a no-brainer as well. Another good matchup by Bayley and Asuka, as Bayley gives the top rope dive elbow. Then she starts mocking Kairi Sane as she does, her little stomp to get ready to go into the corner. But as she does that, Asuka hits the Asuka lock on Bayley, and she has it locked in fully, and Bayley taps out. So now it's going to be Sasha Banks versus Asuka, which will be a good match at SummerSlam. No need to give up the whole Sasha and Bayley thing right now. Save that for WrestleMania. Hopefully you can have people in the crowd by then. So now it's time for Raw Underground. Shane McMahon is still hosting the show. This is what my problem was. Now, there's a couple things that Raw Underground last week, I gave it some praise. It was something different and something new. But there is a couple things I see wrong with Raw Underground, and which I thought was going to be different. Because I wanted, when the Hurt Business took over Raw Underground last week, I figured they were going to be the ones to try to control it. And they would like feed people to Bobby and Shelton periodically, and obviously you wouldn't be able to do that all night because they just dominate the whole thing. But I didn't know how much time Shane McMahon was going to come back. I felt as though that having the Hurt Business involved in that and try to take over, so it won't take away from their TV time as them being the angry heels, would help, put some credibility on Shelton Benjamin, help put some credibility on Bobby Lashley, let everybody know that he used to be a good MMA fighter and things of that nature. So, but instead of just having the Hurt Business just on one segment like it was tonight. But Shane being back is okay, fine. But then here's my second part of it. WWE, the production is way too good. And you may be saying like, well, what you mean? When I say it's way too good, to the point like, this is a gritty, underground fight club. Okay, it needs to look it. There are too many camera cuts, too many bright lights. This is like grade level A production. It's like basically if I was going down to the underground of New York, if I'm going to Brooklyn or Queens and I'm going down to some underground fight ring, it's like I'm bringing a whole production crew and camera equipment also there with me to record this, and I'm not trying to shoot like a movie. That it shouldn't look like that. It should be like a handheld camera, you know what I'm saying, 9mm, stuff like that, you know, running at 720p frames per second. Like, it shouldn't even be all this kind of great money that's put in there. It should be gritty, and that's how it should probably look to give the authentic feel to it. And it's not going to last long because it's trying to do like a shoot play on MMA fights to the point where it's like, if they tried this before, if wrestling fans want to watch MMA, they'll just watch Bellator or UFC. They're not going to watch Raw for no mock MMA fights when they can get the real thing by watching MMA. So that's the problem. But with that being said, Riddick Moss is in there. If Riddick Moss gets in there, he gets a couple wins in there. So I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. Arauto Ruiz, he was in NXT. I remember seeing him a couple house shows. He's a legit. This is like things he does legit from Brazil. He comes in there and gets a couple knocks in to these random jobbers, and then Dabba-Kato, aka Babatunde, comes in there to face this guy. Why would this 5'7" guy or this 5'6", 5'5" guy go in there with this 7-foot guy? That's just it's not a fair matchup, period. And if you're trying to mock, you know, or do different fights that resemble MMA, that they wouldn't even have this kind of matchup. Well, he destroys guy, grabs his balls, and gives him like a headbutt, and then Shayna Baszler gets into the ring, and he kind of smiles. I'm like, yo, Shayna Baszler about to take on Babatunde? But no, he steps out the ring, and then we start getting the women. Here's the thing. Shane's like, who's going to step up and face Shayna Baszler? And then Shane just goes out to the ring and just grabs some random girl and starts beating her up. And this other girl comes in with like a blouse and some jeans. I'm like, were you even supposed to be there? Like, did you not get the memo that we're doing Raw Underground? Where you get this rainbow blouse on? Then there's this other woman that comes in there who's obviously like muscular, like a trainer, like she does it. Like, that's the only one that looks like that would have been a decent fight between her and Shayna Baszler. But Shane takes out these three women, two that looks like they don't even belong there at all. And I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's going to start taking away from the attraction of this Raw Underground thing. So that I didn't care about it too much. I'm about to say, you know, other than Shanna choking out the muscular woman, I don't know who that is. I don't know if she's one of the trainers from NXT or not, but still, I don't know what the case of that's going to be. So now we're trying to get geared for our main event, and our main event is KO taking on Randy Orton, and Ric Flair's coming out with Randy Orton, and these two, you know, put on a decent matchup. Kevin Owens is on the outside. Randy Orton gives him a backdrop onto the announce table. That sucks because all the stuff is still on there. And then he comes back over and he takes Randy down, gives him a swan or senton from the top, and then covers him. It's not. He's setting up for the stunner, but he's setting up the Randy Orton way. Kevin Owens is trying to bait Randy Orton into the stunner, and then Randy Orton reverses the stunner, hits it with an RKO out of nowhere, beats Kevin Owens. So, but we're not done yet. Randy Orton tells Ric Flair, "Yo, man, stay in the ring. I got something to tell you." And then he says, "Look, Rick, man, I love you to death, man, and I can't get mad at you." And people may be thinking like, "Well, get mad at you? Why would he get mad at you?" And he's saying, because, you know, this whole thing with Kevin Owens, I didn't need this. I need this right now. But he said, then he just turned straight heel and said, "This is about you being in the spotlight. You know, this is about you trying to, you know, your ego wouldn't get the way of making me face Kevin Owens this week. You know, say I want you to be my side, but I want you to be the Ric Flair that I grew up with, because the Ric Flair I know," he said, had not been lying in a coma 2 years ago. The Ric Flair that I know wouldn't have been no bubbling idiot, you know, crying all over the place. The Ric Flair that I know, like he was personal shot. He said, "And you wanted me to grow to be the son that you never had." I was like, oh, that's a burn, because one died and one is just, their Flairs is not good. So that sucked. He said, "So what you gonna do, cry about it?" So Ric Flair took the mic and says, "Look, the Ric Flair you know about all that stuff, that guy is gone. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and I'll let everybody know that when I was in that coma and I was close to death, only thing I could think about was letting everybody know that's still alive that I know, and let everybody know that I love them. And tell everybody I love them. And then, yeah, I like being with you. I like riding down the road with you. And because I want you to be the one that breaks my record. Not John Cena. That's not his record. I'm the 16-time world champion. And I want to see you win your 14th, your 15th, your 16th, and your 17th. I wanted you to win. I wanted you to beat his record. And he looks at the ring. And he just wanted to ride down the road with you. Wanted to ride with that. And then Orton tries to go give him a hug. But then, as Ric Flair turns around, it's like, he can't RKO this man. He's too old. Rick can't take no bump right now. So, he gives him a low blow. And Rick he like carefully lays him down. I think Ric Flair does legit have like a calf to the bag. And he carefully lays him down. Then Randy Orton's debating for it, about to go for a punt kick. But the lights start flickering, so that's the retribution thing. I'll talk about them towards, like, at the very end. And then, as he goes to kick him, the lights go completely off, and then you just hear something, and then all of a sudden Ric Flair's down on his face. So in reality, he really didn't kick Ric Flair, but since the lights went off, we really didn't see it. So Drew McIntyre comes down and feeds Randy Orton off and calls him a monster. You're crazy. And why would you do that to Ric Flair? And then now, so that brings a lot of heat to their match at SummerSlam. So I'm even excited for more now, which now, not just because he's one of my favorite wrestlers, I'm thinking Randy Orton taking that title. Randy Orton is going to become 14-time champion, and then McIntyre wins it back right before Edge, because Edge is going to probably be the one that's going to screw Randy Orton out the championship, and that's when we're going to get that I Quit match at WrestleMania. So hopefully Edge comes back healthy enough so we can actually get that match. I'm saying I would love to get that matchup. So now that was Raw, but here's the thing about the Retribution thing. Retribution was on there, and then they was out there arguing with some guy, and then they threw a cinder block through the window. Then somebody else threw a cinder block through a broken window already, and they flipped the car over. They're doing these childish acts again, and I'm to the point where it's like, I'm not liking it. And like I said on my SmackDown review, it's juvenile because they're out there acting like kids, and this is clearly a play up on the George Floyd riots and protest and looting that has happened in this country this past year and this past summer, and that's just not funny, And like I said, I should have known that's what it was going to be when it said that this is nothing political. But I'm like, but it is. I'm like, this is what your idea of this stuff is, and the group's not making no sense. It has no clear leader. They just look all over the place and looks like the worst version of the Nexus. And I'm like, and I don't like how they're calling a Retribution to the point where you're trying to make people watch it, and it's just not going to work out that way. But that was Raw. So I thought Raw was decent. I think I give Raw a pass this week. You know what I'm saying? It's not a high pass, but I give it a decent little pass because of the work from Randy Orton at the end. So post any comments down below. How'd you guys enjoy Raw this week? Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed my reaction. My review of Raw. Hit the subscribe button for more WWE content right here on Nerd Coalition. So once again, this is NC Place to Be. Children Mr. AND, and Nerd Coalition is out.